Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in here and join me with this presentation. Today we're going to be talking about portable storage. And basically my presentation is entitled Portable Storage One. Basically what I've done is taken modern storage and compared it to original storage. For all of you that, I'll say probably about at least half the class here, have you ever seen these little animals? Show of hands. Look at some of the younger folks have. Okay, so that's great. Basically, with flash drives and iPods, have replaced the old 5 1/4, 3 1/4, even a big old monstrous 8-inch floppy disk, and then of course the MP3 players. I'm going to start out by showing you a couple of little videos that will actually enlighten you on a little bit of this information. Let's see. Bring up the right thing. I think some of you were just being born.
The floppy disk was a magnetic disk storage medium that was read and written by a floppy disk drive. Example. By slicing a notch in the side of the floppy disk, one was able to double the data storage capacity. Example.
Anybody ever try that? We kind of get the idea on that. I won't worry too much. It's more of that. Let's see. Let's give a little more history on these big old 8-inch copies. There's 1960 seems like a long time ago. And even as old as I am, I don't ever remember seeing the 8-inch. It was the year after I was born, so. Something everybody's real familiar with, right? This one here I just threw in just for some sheer entertainment. For any of you that are Star Wars fans, you'll kind of get this. Anyone recognize that? It's just kind of some people that have a little too much time on their hands. They can figure out how to do that. So, like I said, just throw that in there for some entertainment. So basically, as we were showing you there, the 8-inch, the 5 1/4, and the diskette that everyone is more familiar with. In 1971, IBM introduced the first memory disk, better known today as the floppy disk. It was an 8-inch flexible plastic disk coated with magnetic iron oxide, and computer data was basically written to this surface and read from that surface. At that time, 100 kilobytes of data was able to be stored on that disk. So the nickname floppy came from the disk flexibility. Of course, any of you that have ever used that have taken one and seen the pliability. I don't have any of those as examples. I do have some examples down front that of other storage mediums that we're talking about today. But basically, with that floppy disk is a circle of magnetic material similar to the kinds of recording tape as a cassette tape. Show of hands, how many remember a cassette tape? Oh wow, I'm actually surprised. So anyways, that's a two-sided disc just used for recording. And of course, the disc grabs the center of the floppy by it and spins it like a record. Now, that's one I'm sure by show of hands I won't see nearly as many hands. How many remember a record? For a bonus, can anybody tell me the two different sizes of a record?
45 and 33.
Oh, 45 was right. What was the other?
33.
33? Was it more like 72?
78.
Oh, yeah.
78? 72 something. So yeah, but yeah, that's some real old school stuff there. Let's see. So in 1976, the 5 1/4 flexible disk drive, diskette, was developed by Alan Shugart and Wayne for Wayne Laboratories. Wayne wanted a smaller floppy disk drive to use for their desktop computers. So by 1978, more than 10 manufacturers were producing 5 1/4 floppy drives that stored up to a whopping 1.2 megabytes of data. So a little interesting story about the 5 1/4, how it came to its name, was the engineers Jim Atkinson and Don Massaro were discussing the size of this with Ann Wayne of Wayne Laboratories. So the trio happened to be in a bar, and Wayne looks over and says, "Yeah, I want it to be about that size," pointing to a napkin, which happened to be 5 1/4 inch wide. So that's 5 1/4. The floppy disk was considered a revolutionary device in the history of computers due to the portability, which provided new and easy physical means of transporting data from computer to computer. So basically, anyone could take their data they're working on at work and take it home, continue working, or if they needed to transfer files between. By show of hands, did anyone ever use the little floppy drives to take work home, do transfer? Okay. 2 people. Wow. All right. Myself, I actually use more of the 3.5, but used that a lot for my sales tracking system, doing my mileage, doing things of that. So it was very helpful. But, the first disks were designed loading micros into the controller of Merlin IBM 3330 disk pack file, a 100 megabyte storage device. And I'm sure in these low numbers, that's pretty low for most everyone that's using computers today, as we are used to much, we're up in the terabytes when we're dealing with things. Most everybody's got gigabyte. Matter of fact, some of the examples I have down here, the tower there is one of my old towers that it has the zip drive, the 3 1/4 and or 3.5, I'm sorry, and the hard drive on that computer was a mega 20 gigabytes. Oh yeah. But if you see on top of that, you can see the little flash drive, 32 gigabytes. And that little bitty piece of equipment, it's got much more storage than that computer. So in 1981, in 1981, Sony introduced the 3.5, which is the drive I kind of skipped ahead and started talking about. But these floppies were encased in hard plastic, but the name stayed the same. So they stored 400 kilobytes of data, and later 720 double density, and the 1.44 megabytes of high density that we're used to today. Today, reportable CDs, DVDs, flash drives, and cloud drives have since replaced floppies and primary means of transporting files from one computer to another. So, as that one video said, most of the those floppies were obsolete in 1995. This here is just a reminder to myself to show you guys. This is just for some of your younger folks that have never seen this. Can anybody tell me what this is? Ever seen this? I'm sorry if it, move it down. kind of gives itself away right here. MS-DOS shell. Basically, this was when I first started learning how to use computers. This is what we had. There were no mouse or mice, I guess. You basically didn't have an infestation running around in your home. You used your tab button, your arrows, so you could arrow between. You could look at your different drives. You could see your A drive, your C, D, F drive, whichever drives you had. If you hit Alt F, you could bring down this little display menu of commands you could use. You can actually scroll through the different commands at the top. And any of those you could use by Alt and O, Alt V to get to those. And so this was actually how I learned how to use a computer. Just a little interesting fact there. Or at least I thought it was. All right, so with that, like I was talking about with these down below, there's some examples there. If anybody wants to look at those, you're welcome to. But as I said, with your storage mediums of the, oh, you know, actually, I apologize. I didn't talk to you guys about the little MP3 players, which I'm getting ready to do. But the little zip drive right beside the MP3 player, that's another storage medium that I didn't cover in this, but it is, you know, it's same concept, but you had more storage. So now the MP3 player, of course, that stands for the MPEG Audio Layer 3, and it's a standard for audio compression that makes any music file smaller, a little less loss of noise. Sound quality was not, there wasn't a loss of sound quality. MP3 is part of the MPEG, an acronym for Motion Picture Expert Group, and a family of standards of displaying video and audio using lossy compression. The standards set by the ISO, or the Industry Standard Organization, beginning in 1992, the MPEG-1 standard. So the MPEG-1 is a video compression standard with low bandwidth. The high bandwidth audio and video compression standard of MPEG-2 followed and was good enough to use DVD technology. So by a show of hands, how many had an MP3 player? Wow, just about everybody. That's cool. So I'll show you guys a couple little videos on the MP3. Does anybody remember ever having an MP3 player so old that it only held like 3 songs? Yeah, that's
all the time, the MP-Man. It featured 32 megabytes of RAM and was expandable up to 64 megabytes. With this 32 megabyte RAM, you could hold up to 8 average length tracks, which equals about 32 minutes of music. It weighed 65 grams and had a rechargeable battery pack, which lasted 9 hours. The MP-Man cost $400 and was not a big success.
many people would pay $400 for that low amount of music. 32 minutes of music. Some of those little dinosaurs right there. I apologize, I had this queued up too. Boombox. Show of hands. Anybody? You got a boombox in the day? where I had it queued up, I'm sorry. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Nein? Alright, so you guys get the idea of MP3 technology. It's So let's talk a little bit about flash drives. I'm sure everyone here has probably a collection of flash drives. But basically the NAND flash memory was developed in the mid-'80s by Toshiba, and USB flash drives were developed in the late 1990s. There's still some dispute about who created the first version, but most credit M Systems Company, which was eventually, bought by SanDisk. The breakthrough was an ability to connect flash memory to a computer without the need for drivers or special software. In the United States, IBM sold the earliest 8 megabyte version in 2001 under the product name MemoryP, and quickly followed with a 16 megabyte version. So by 2003, IBM sold a 64 megabyte version manufactured by M Systems. It's really low storage, isn't it? So other versions from various manufacturers were soon available as well. By the time USB flash drives began to really catch on, it was computers in 128 megabyte version was the most common. The current USB flash drive, the companies that claim to have originated the USB flash drive have been unable to protect their intellectual property. Currently, there are numerous producers of USB flash drives from all over the world. I'm sure all of you guys have many different flash drives, whether it's SanDisk, Kingston, so many different manufacturers these days. Their storage capacity continues to increase, while the early versions could hold 828 megabytes. Now 32 and 64 gigabyte flash drives are common, and 128 gigabyte drives are available. How many of you have 128 gigabyte flash? One? Anyone? I thought you did. So those 128 megabyte flash drives cost around, I'm saying megabytes. I was thinking gigabytes. You're the one that has the gigabytes on there. But those were around $30 back in those days, which was a considerable amount of money back then. Now you can buy an 8 gigabyte USB flash drive for around $10.
Use and durability. So what is the story behind the USB? Well, even today, there's still some discussion about who the real inventor is. According to Wikipedia, the original concept of the USB drive was invented by 3 men, named Amir Bond, Dov Moran, and Orn Ogden, from the Israeli company M Systems in April of 1999. However, their idea involved having a cable between the USB connection and where the memory would be stored. Then in September of '99, a patent disclosure by Shimon Shmuley at IBM described the USB as we know today, leading many to consider him to be the original inventor of the drive. IBM decided to partner with M Systems to bring the product to market, and in the year 2000, USBs began to be sold commercially, with 2 main players leading the way. IBM introduced their USB flash drive called the Disk On Key, while the Singaporean company, Trek Technology, introduced theirs as the Thumb Drive. The earlier models, when first introduced, had a capacity of 8 megabytes, which was still more than 5 times the size of conventional floppy disks at the time. And over the years, consumers have seen the capacity consistently double in size, with some even having the ability to store 512 gigabytes or even 1 terabyte of data. Today, the cost of a USB will depend on its size, but it's not uncommon to get 32 gigs for under $20. Now, if only we could just get them into our laptops on the first try. Thank you.
So So basically here I've just got some charts that kind of give you an idea of, these are the diskettes. So, basically saying that 350 diskettes stacked there on the first. That's how many diskettes you'd need to store a Blu-ray. A little comparison of the Empire State Building, 1,454 diskettes. So if you had 250 gigabyte hard drive, you need 1,749 diskettes to be able to store all of that. Same thing on this chart. This is kind of giving you a little more idea of with the CD-ROMs. So like in the top one there, CD-ROM, 250 megabytes. That's the equivalent to be basically about 4.25 feet tall worth of the diskettes. And of course, those of you, how many of you use your flash drives or any of your storage mediums to store your photos, videos, songs? Pretty much everybody. This year, of course, you look back at, so let's say, really the 16, well, probably 8, those are all pretty high numbers in gigabytes. But you're looking at your videos, you got 1.5, 4 gigabyte. You've got 1,300 photos, more than 1,000 songs. So, that's where we're at these days with storing. Most everyone likes to store them on those types of devices, just so that you can keep that and take it, whether it's taken to your family, take it to a business meeting, wherever you need to demonstrate that technology. This here, of course, today we've talked about the floppy disk, the flash drive. You've got your zip disk, that I've got one of those down here in front. And of course, Smart Media. This here, unfortunately, didn't come out real well, but I do have some handouts that has this on it. Basically, just giving you some examples of the difference in old school technology and new school as to how much it would take to store that. Of course, back in the day, I remember with the 5 1/4s having anywhere from a 10 to 15 stack of 5 1/4 floppies to have to load one piece of software. So if you were loading Access, Word, or Excel back in those days, you had 10 to 15 5 1/4s that you had to load disk 1, disk 2. Nowadays, it's all on one little simple CD, DVD. All of these here are in your handouts. Just some nice informational things, just kind of give you a comparison of this here, talking about the real world USB flash drive benchmark. Basically, all of these are the 128 gigabytes, but as you can see by the graph there, each technology, each manufacturer, they use more or less of the storage space on that 128 gigabytes for their actual proprietary software that runs that actual flash drive or drive. That pretty much concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us today. I know this is about an hour that you'll never get back in your life, but I promise you it'll be worth it. Thank you so much.